So you have a general principles of prevention for control under the management regulations. So the first of which is to avoid the risk, then to evaluate the risks which cannot be avoided, combat the risks at source, adapt the work to the individual, especially as regards the design of workplaces, choice of working equipment, and the choice of working production methods, with a view in particular to alleviating monotonous work and reducing their work at a predetermined work rate, and to reducing their effect on health. By monotonous work, what we're meaning is if you're carrying out something that exposes you to the same small collection of hazards intensely, then you have this bell jar effect where your health would be affected in a disproportionate manner. Adapt to technical progress, so raising new hazards posed by bringing new technology or shifts in the level of risk, but also trying to use new technologies to reduce the level of risk. Replacing the dangerous by the non-dangerous or the less dangerous. Developing a coherent overall prevention policy which covers technology, organisation of work, working conditions, social relationships, and the influence of factors relating to the work environment. Giving collective protective measures priority over individual protective measures, and giving appropriate instructions to employees. So this is all possibly a little involved to try to grasp if you are to have something easy to use, and so they've turned it very helpfully into this rather useful table. So you should work from the top down to the bottom when deciding your control measures to reduce the level of risk. So in preference to anything else, you will try to eliminate that risk completely by removing the hazard. If you're unable to do that, then you want to substitute the less hazardous materials or processes. So we can consider here the use of the box cutters, but we can also consider things such as using non-spirit based paints or solvents for a process where a water-based alternative can be used without too much of a reduction in the quality of the finished product. Minimization of inventories of stocks or amounts of available hazards. So what it's saying here is, for instance, if you have a stock or something which is a flammable or explosive substance, then only order in as much as you absolutely need and then have deliveries more regularly. And so for that sort of thing, just by stock taking, you can reduce the level of risk from the hazard. Engineering controls at source are the next choice of preference, such as automation or process enclosure. So what we're talking here is simple guarding. This can come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, from physical guards such as the crown guard for your circular saw blade, to more sophisticated guarding such as metal cages around dangerous machinery, or having a laser curtain around things which, if broken, will stop the machinery. And so all of your guarding should be interlocked with the operation of the machinery wherever possible. This isn't always practical, but it should be also quite difficult to remove the guarding, because it's one of the favourite things of employees to try to make their life a little bit easier for themselves. Then the familiarity with the process breeds contempt. In as much the same way as the familiarity with the dangers of car travel breeds contempt for the risks posed by that car travel. And so wherever possible, you should have either difficult to remove guards or engineering controls which involve the halting of the current to the machinery, for the electric current to the machinery, in order to stop that machinery from operating if the guard is removed. For instance, if you need to enter the enclosure in order to do work on the machinery. Engineering controls to reduce exposure, such as segregation, partial enclosure, mechanical handling, suppression methods, or ventilation. We're talking things such as fume extraction here. And again, these can be interlocked so that they operate automatically if the machinery is put into operation. Mechanical handling may be manual handling aids, such as small lifting aids in order to help you move things about if you have to do a lot of manual handling. Other options would be to use simple things such as a push stick in order to move your wood through your circular saw. Then administrative controls such as safe working procedures, job rotation, and good housekeeping. And bear in mind these require some discipline to adhere to, so you can see why they're a bit further down this hierarchy of control. And this hierarchy of control is what you're looking at here. Then personnel procedures such as adequate supervision, information dissemination, and training. So again, this is even harder to ensure adherence to, and its continued effectiveness. And so this is right down at the bottom of the hierarchy of control. And then finally, and least of all, we have personal protective equipment, which should be your last resort where nothing else can be used effectively in order to reduce the level of risk. So this is basically just putting on personal protective equipment, which will limit in some way the employee's exposure to that hazard.